I'm going through the Grounding for the Metaphysics of Morals by Immanuel Kant, using the Hackett edition here, translated by James Ellington. And the next part is so eloquent and so straightforward, particularly for something written by Kant, that I think I might just read it and say almost nothing at all about it. But it is well worth reading, and you should read it for yourself in hard copy because that's the best way. Also, I have to go somewhere in something like 9 minutes. Kant says, we are in the first section of the Grounding for Metaphysics of Morals. The first section is a transition from the ordinary rational knowledge of morality to the philosophical. Kant says, there is no possibility of thinking of anything at all in the world, or even out of it, which can be regarded as good without qualification, except a good will. Some things are good, but not without qualification. The only thing good without qualification is a good will. Intelligence, wit, judgment, and whatever talents of the mind one might want to name are doubtless in many respects good and desirable, as are such qualities of temperament as courage, resolution, and perseverance. But they can also become extremely bad and harmful if the will, which is to make use of these gifts of nature, and which in its special constitution is called character, is not good. The same holds with gifts of fortune. Power, riches, honor, even health, and that complete well-being and contentment with one's condition which is called happiness, make for pride, and often hereby even arrogance, unless there is a good will to correct their influence on the mind, and herewith also to rectify the whole principle of action and make it universally conformable to its end. Well, maybe this doesn't call for some explanation. It is Kant, after all. I'll get there in a moment. The sight of a being who is not graced by any touch of a pure and good will, but who yet enjoys an uninterrupted prosperity, can never delight a rational and impartial spectator. Thus a good will seems to constitute the indispensable condition of being even worthy of happiness. Nice, memorable sentence from Kant. The indispensable condition of even being worthy of happiness is a good will. Imagine someone who has all those things that we think of as good things: intelligence, wit, judgment, talents of the mind, and gifts of fortune like power, riches, honor, health. Imagine someone even has happiness, but lacks a good will. Without a good will, all of these things are not good. They're not good without qualification. They're not good without a good will. The good will is what makes those things genuinely good, certainly not vice versa. And imagine someone who has all of these things but lacks a good will. That's even worse. That thought experiment, that makes him even worse than he would be if he has those things and lacks a good will. He's even worse than he would be without those things, but still without a good will. We'll get back to that thought experiment in a moment. Some qualities are even conducive to this goodwill itself and can facilitate its work. Some things are useful for goodwill to have. Some things take good intentions and help them along. Things like these. Okay, I'll skip one sentence. Moderation in emotions and passions, self-control, and calm deliberation are not only good in many respects, but even seem to constitute part of the intrinsic worth of a person, but they're far from being rightly called good without qualification, however unconditionally they were commended by the ancients. Things called virtues by ancient philosophers, things like courage and moderation, are not necessarily good things. They are, without a good will, not good things. In fact, they can be bad things. For without the principles of a good will, and here we get back to that thought experiment, they can become extremely bad. Picture someone who has all these things we think of as good, but without a good will. Things like, again, intelligence, wit, judgment, and other talents of the mind, or power, riches, honor, health, happiness, or moderation, self-control, calm deliberation. Without the principles of a good will, they can become extremely bad. The coolness of a villain makes him not only much more dangerous, but also immediately more abominable in our eyes than he would have been regarded by us without it. And here's where I think, I really think this. God planned for Disney eventually to make a film where we can add a lot of these things to a single character, and even add the Infinity Stones to that character, and show how these things are not good without qualification. Even the Infinity Stones are not good without qualification. All of these things are not good without qualification. All these things even make a villain worse, because Thanos has so many of these things, plus the Infinity Stones. And not only is he bad because he has a bad will, but he is even worse for having all of these good things, because the goodwill is what makes good things actually good. And without a goodwill, things that are supposed to be good can turn to bad. A good will is good not because of what it effects or accomplishes, nor because of its fitness to attain some proposed end. It is good only through its willing, i.e., it is good in itself. When it is considered in itself, then it is to be esteemed very much higher than anything which it might ever bring about, merely in order to favor some inclination, etc. I think I can almost stop there. Let me just say two things, maybe just two. One thing is, here he's starting to get a little bit more into the kind of philosophy that distinguishes him from other ethicists, where he says that a good will is good quite independently of any good ends it may accomplish. It is in and of itself a good thing. So if a good will completely failed to achieve happiness or any other goal it was trying to achieve, aid the thought experiment, say it's a good will to achieve the happiness of all people. If it totally fails, it's still good, quite independently of its results. And Kant describes how a good will with the greatest effort but total failure, if it should remain, he's reversing the thought experiment here. Imagine first someone who has all of these good things, and I like to add even the infinity stones, but lacks a good will. These things clearly aren't good without qualification in and of themselves. They can even make a bad will worse. Now reverse the thought experiment. Imagine someone who has a good will but lacks all of those other things. And Kant says the good will, which includes not just a mere wish, but also the summoning of all the means in our power. So a good will is not just sort of wanting what's right, but doing everything you can to achieve what's right. Although, in a deeper sense, the good will itself is the only thing that's right. But more on that perhaps in another video. Back to the text. The good will by itself would, like a jewel, still shine by its own light, as something which has its full value in itself. Its usefulness or fruitlessness can neither augment nor diminish this value. Its usefulness would be, as it were, only the setting to enable us to handle it in ordinary dealings, or attract to it the attention of those who are not yet experts, but not to recommend it to real experts or to determine its value. If you really know the value of things, you will understand that the goodwill in and of itself, quite apart from its accomplishments, is the only thing that is good without qualification. All right, that's quite enough Kant for today. Thanks for watching.